Hi guys, welcome back to Chess Trainer. Today we're talking about chess strategy, and I'm going to show you an incredible theme that's often completely overlooked, especially by beginners: pawn pushes. There are some pawn pushes that can cause us to lose instantly. In particular, I'll also show you a beautiful game between Aronian and Kramnik, but let's get right to it. Let's move to the chessboard, and I want to immediately show you a position to help you get familiar with this theme. So this position comes from one of the videos I made about the French defense. And in this position where white has basically sacrificed a pawn, now instead of recapturing it with the knight on a4, plays g4, and with the move g4, I'm basically trying to chase away the knight so I can recapture the pawn without exchanging pieces. Now, here a huge mistake could be the move h6. Why is this move such a big mistake? I'll put it here for you as a definition. Never push pawns on the side where your opponent is attacking unless you are 100% forced to. So, for example, if our opponent is threatening mate in 1, we have to defend, ubi major minor cessat, we have to do it. But if we're not 100% forced, never push pawns where your opponent is attacking. This is because pushing the pawn gives your opponent the opportunity to have a hook to open up the position. Let me explain better. h4, now we make some random move. And after g5, white manages to forcibly open up this position. Because either it gets opened if we capture, because black captures here, right? Mate arrives, or we open it ourselves by capturing on h6, and as you can see, a file has been opened. If black hadn't played the move h6 here, let's say for example another move here, maybe bishop to d7 to try to defend the pawn. Here, if white plays g5, black can simply move his knight. Obviously white has achieved his goal, so now he's going to recapture the pawn and will be, so to speak, satisfied, but as you can see, the position here isn't critical, meaning white, in my opinion, is always slightly better, but no file has been opened. And here, in order to open a file, I have to h4, h5, let's just make some random moves, okay? h4. Obviously, I'm just making random moves, h5, and here, basically, if I play h6, still, black can achieve a close position, for example, with g6. Obviously, here the position is completely lost because I'm wasting moves, but it's just to help you understand the concept. So here, to open up this position, I would actually have to play g6, sacrificing the pawn. So basically, I would first have to mobilize my pawns and then, let's say, sacrifice one. So opening up the position is much more complicated. Instead here, with the move h6, basically white plays h4 and in just one move has opened up the position with devastating consequences. So in my opinion, this is the prime example that shows you that pawns, especially those in front of your castle king, should not be pushed if your opponent is attacking on that side. And from this point of view, I want to show you this game by Kramnik. Kramnik is playing black against Aronian, so we're talking about two players from the world's top elite. And Aronian made a mistake here on move 7, meaning a player as strong as Aronian made a mistake on move 7. Let's take a look at the game. The game is a Berlin defense, bishop to b5, knight to f6. This is one of the most common variations that comes from the Spanish opening. Aronian plays d3, bishop to c5, bishop takes c6, d takes c6, so black accepts this structural damage in exchange for the advantage of the bishop pair. And after short castling, Kramnik makes this very clever move, queen to a7. Queen to a7, it's a move. Clever, it defends the pawn and still doesn't reveal whether he wants to castle short or long. And at this point, Aronian makes an incredible mistake, one of those mistakes that you usually explain to children when showing these Spanish positions. And here Aronian plays h3, which is a very serious inaccuracy, because in the Spanish it's said that the move h3 should only be played after black has castled short. For example, knight to bd2, short castle, and now h3 is a perfectly playable theoretical move, no problem. However, here Aronian plays the move h3 in advance before black has even castled short, and obviously Kramnik doesn't need to be asked twice here. With the move rook to g8, he immediately shows Aronian that playing h3 was not a good idea. What is Kramnik's idea now? Kramnik obviously wants to prepare g5 and g4. Of course, the king will try to castle long, and with g5 and g4, Black's attacking potential is much stronger because in just 2 moves he will be able to open the g-file. On the other hand, in this position, if I play rook to g8, I have no offensive potential at all. Because even after g5 and g4, white just moves the knight and no file has been opened. So before black can generate any kind of attack, it will take a very long time. But with h3, you see, this pawn push is what makes us lose games. Practically after rook to g8, already the position is quite clear. Let's see how it continued. White immediately plays king h1, which is a move you usually do not play so quickly in the Spanish. All the pieces still need to be developed, but he already feels in danger, and as you can see, makes a move like king h1. Here Kramnik plays knight to h5, so let's say he brings the knight into play, probably aiming for the f4 square, but of course he also gains more control to play g5 and g4. Aronian played c3, and of course Kramnik doesn't hesitate and starts playing with the move g5. Here Aronian decides that he has to do something concrete right away, because in fact the position is about to become very serious. Because with any move, x by white, black threatens. g4, then comes in with the bishop, then castles long. In short, the position is terrible. So Aronian decides it's time to play tactically, to stir things up a bit in this position. So knight takes e5. What is Aronian's idea? Obviously, after queen takes e5, not only does he immediately recapture the piece, but he also has the follow-up with d4 right away. So here, Kramnik had already foreseen everything and plays the move g4, so we're going to open up the opponent's king. Aronian rightly plays d4, which at this moment is a completely free move. It defends the knight and attacks the bishop, so d4. Here, it's definitely the move to play. Bishop to d6, and now g3. Now g3 is a very important move. Aronian is trying as much as possible to keep things closed. The position, which he won't be able to keep closed for long, but at least he's trying. Here Kramnik plays bishop takes a5, probably bishop to a6. That's the computer's suggestion, maybe a slightly more balanced move. The computer first suggests castling long, but okay, Kramnik decided to go straight for bishop takes e5 and queen takes e5. It makes sense because it's actually a concrete way to play, not that it's wrong. Maybe bishop to e6 with long castling was a bit more precise, but this is also perfectly recommendable for black. And as you can see, white once again doesn't have all their pieces developed. The king is weak, and by the way, did you notice that in the Spanish white gave up the light squared bishop? And so now all the light squares are even weaker. So the position is really dreadful. So Aronian plays queen. d4, rightly trying to exchange queens, at least trying to survive. And obviously Kramnik, not even as a joke, exchanges them. Queen e7, he wants to keep the queens on the board. Obviously he wants to maintain all his offensive potential. And at this point Aronian tries, he plays h4, trying to keep the game closed. You see, after all, we're talking about 2 top world players, so it's not like Aronian lost in 10 moves with g5 and g4. However, the position is really quite bad for white, especially considering that usually in top-level games, white comes out with, or at least tries to come out with, a small opening advantage. Here, obviously, there isn't even a trace of that. c5, played by Kramnik to destabilize the position of the queen. Queen to c4, bishop to e6, so we complete development. Queen to b5 checks c6, queen to a4. And at this point, exactly, Kramnik, do you see how energetic Kramnik is? I mean, here Kramnik has a dynamic advantage, white has all his pieces at home. And the black king is very weak, so he's not worried at all. Maybe here a normal player might have thought, alright, I'll just play a 6, I'll castle long, and then we'll see. Why play a 6? Because obviously maybe after castling long there could be queen takes a 7, right? So the idea is I play a 6, solve the pawn problem, then castle long and see what happens. Black would still be better even in this case, but here the strong move is f5 because Kramnik has a dynamic advantage, his pieces are more active, so he doesn't want to wait even a second. He immediately plays f5, opens up the position right away, and really brings aggression to the board. White tries bishop to g5, but needless to say, the dynamic advantage is so strong that Kramnik can afford, of course, to give up the exchange on g5, and at this point he doesn't capture the pawn on g5 but plays f4 to further open up this position. Queen to d1, Aronian tries to reposition his pieces, but rook to d8, queen to c1, f takes g3, and already, as you can see, you can't even capture because knight takes g3, so knight to a3, a move that obviously there are no solutions here for white. Aronian is just playing on inertia at this point, knight to a3, trying to develop pieces, but rook to d3. Now the rook also joins in. Let's say, to join the party. You see how a strong player, when attacking, brings all his pieces into play. Rook to d1, and here bishop to d5. This other move, this incredible move, which basically seals the game. So now there's nothing that can stop rook takes, queen takes e4, and obviously I break in with force. On f3, I can take back the rook, but I can also simply make this move. I don't care about the rook. And after that, victory comes immediately. And in case of pawn takes d5, there's always this move. And at this point, for example, king to g1, I can open up the position. Now the rook also comes in to deliver mate. So there's nothing more to be done. Aronian played f3, still out of inertia, but g takes f3. He captured on d5, queens 2. Obviously there isn't much to be done. Rook to 1, but there's g2, and now there's nothing left to say about the position. King to g1, there's f2, game over. While after this move there are probably several options, I like this bishop promotion with double check. And after king takes g1, again f2 check. So okay, let's do a sequence. Queen check, double check. This is an attraction tactic, so now you have to capture. And then f2, let's say we've brought the king back to where we wanted. And now again the rook comes in to deliver mate. So in short, these last moves are just for show. The game, let's say, ends here. Already after rook takes g5, it was completely over, so let's review the moment when Aronian lost the game. He played a 7, and here comes the move h3, because he pushed a pawn on the side where, as you can see, potentially the opponent could have launched an attack, so he should have waited for knight to d2 and then short castling, and only then played h3. So you see this small detail. I think many people make this kind of mistake, this h3 move, in the Italian game and in general play, slowly, right? When we play this move h3, it's because we don't want the bishop to go to g4 because it bothers us when it pins the knight. Well, from today on, be very careful, because if your opponent has offensive potential and you play h3 too early, it could end for you like in this game, in which Kramnik gave a masterclass to Aronian. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed this topic. I hope that, let's say, it helps you in your games. In my opinion, this is a great instructional lesson, and as always, I invite you to comment and to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I'll see you in the next videos.